Oh, hey, good afternoon and welcome to the Big Bad Broadcast. And we got some great show for you today like we did last week when all we thought was puppets. Who knew that many people would like to see Tony Ravioli? So we got to introduce you to the guys that we do every week. On top, we got Mike Grief, the Dean of the Clown College.
Wow. Hey, how you doing? Hey, puppets. What are you talking about, puppets? I don't know anything about puppets.
I think it's perfectly all right for a man your age to be playing with dolls. Then we have Joe Silky, the mind reader.
Woo! I knew you'd say that.
You knew you'd say that after 114 weeks. And then we have Craig Mitchell, our Yoda, our man around town, who just beamed in, I guess, from Star Wars.
Yeah, from Star Trek, that is, yes.
All right, well, let's get us all in equal boxes. And then
equal boxes.
Equal boxes.
There is no equal box.
There we go. So anyway, we got it today. We have a really cool guest and guy I really respect in the business, and he does seance stuff and magic, and it's really cool. So since we're going to talk about seance and stuff, we need to talk about if anybody has any
spooky stuff inside.
Spooky stuff. I just got to tell you really quickly, because I do some seance stuff, and I think this is kind of a funny story. Joe and I were going to a convention in Ohio, and I was putting all my seance stuff through the X-ray machine, and the guy's going, what is this? And without thinking, I went, I talk to the dead.
Yeah.
And the guy went, okay. So what about you, Mike? Spirits are probably afraid of you.
What you're talking about? What spooky experiences that we've had? I'll tell you, this is the I've never been a big, believe in whatever, all that stuff. But I remember this was, I don't know, I think I was 19 years, whatever it was. And we were doing a Ouija board thing. That's what I had that. And who believes? So you ask a stupid question just to mess around. So I asked the Ouija board, I said, what time we had ordered a pizza. We were all drunk and whatever. So it said the pizza will arrive at, I think it was 9:17. 9:17 exactly. The guy knocked on the door with the pizza. And that really kind of freaked me out. So then, the standard question everyone asks, and I asked it, when will I die? And it said, 36. And then it spelled out drugs, which, I'll tell you the truth. Like I said, I never really believed in this stuff, but it's just a coincidence that I think I was 34 when I got clean and sober, because it must have been in the back of my head. But then the next question I asked is, when will our next pizza arrive? Because I was still hungry.
Well, it's fascinating. Ouija boards are fascinating because usually this is what happens. Two people sit around, or a couple of people, they put their hand on the planchette and they ask a question and it starts to move and usually ends up, before you get the answer, of fighting. You pushed it. No, I didn't push it. And someone flips on the board and goes, it sucks.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, a lot of people are freaked out by Ouija boards. I mean, I was watching these things where it's like you can get a 100-year-old Ouija board for like $3 because the owners, a lot of times, they want them out of their house because it is kind of a creepy thing. But I mean,
if you can find any 100-year-old Ouija boards for $3, buy it and send it to me.
Ouija boards are creepy until you find out they're made by Parker Brothers. Then you're kind of like, come on.
Yeah.
How creepy can it be? Maybe they'll put you in jail and you have to roll doubles. That's about as bad as it can be, right?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Who cares who invented it? They didn't invent it.
By the way, Mike, it said 36, right?
What's that?
36?
What?
Say it again.
Mike, it said you're going to die at 36?
It said I was going to die at 36. Yeah, drugs.
Maybe it's 2036.
Well, let's see. That would, hey, listen, I'm ready to go whenever.
Just bring some sunshine into the conversation.
I'm ready to follow my career anytime.
Well, I have a friend who collects antiques, and he's got a photo, big photo of a guy with handlebar mustache and stuff. And the guy was a peeping Tom, and supposedly they burned his eyes out. But they took a photo of him afterwards. But what they did is they drew in eyes. And when you look at this photo and you walk around the room, the eyes...
They drew eyes on the photo or on the guy they took his eyes out of?
The photo is of the guy that was the peeping Tom.
Right.
But they took his eyes out. And then whoever took the photo, they touched it up and they put his eyes back in so he would look presentable. And now when you go and you walk, the eyes kind of follow you. It's not a trick thing. It's just.
So now he's a peeping Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
and you knew these people?
I know the person who owns the photo, not the things from like the 1800s.
Creepy.
Wow. When you talk about this stuff, it's very funny. Not funny, but it is funny to me. People were obsessed with taking pictures of dead people.
Yeah.
I have a thing in my seance where it shows a picture of a guy in a rack, not Iraq, in a rack.
In Iraq.
Standing up. And it's an ad. And it's an ad for this machine that says, this is Joe Blow 6 days after his death, or 6 months after his death, 3 days before his burial. And his two buddies are like with their arms around him, and this dead guy's in the middle. And people were obsessed with taking pictures. In fact, I can get you a picture of that, and you can show it.
Great way to sell coffins or something like that. You know what I mean? Just have a picture of, it's like the way you sell like a couch or a recliner chair. You have a guy dead in his go. Look how comfortable he's going to be for eternity.
There was a show on either Netflix or one of those streaming things it was about a guy who was a mortuary photographer, like in the 1800s. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like an adventure show.
I can't remember. It was like a mini series kind of thing.
Yeah, they were very
mortuary photographer.
They were very taking, pictures. I thought you were going to say about the coffins. It was like one of those, like a show, show you, like My Crib. Only it was like it was
MTV
for like,
coffins.
Yeah, it was like for dead rappers.
Pimp My Coffin.
Yeah, Pimp My Coffin would be a good one. It's so funny. So funny.
Well, we haven't heard the other guy say spooky stories.
Well, mine is spooky and weird. It's stupid and spooky. I was like 15 or 16, and we were doing the Ouija board at somebody's party. We're all getting drunk, 16. We had a legal beer, whatever. And so they go, ask any question on the Ouija board. And I go, okay, am I ever going to have my own TV show? And they said, yes. And I go, when? And I said, am I going to be like 30? Am I going to be 40? And I kept on asking and I said, am I going to be old? Like what? Am I going to be as old as Grandpa Walton? And it went.
And the Ouija board. Wait, and the Ouija board went. Who?
You're right. So I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, great. So I'll have a TV show when I'm as old as Will Gear, who was 70 when he started the Waltons. Then I go, who am I? I asked it, who am I? And it went PHILL. And I freaked out because my mother's father, my grandfather, used to call me Philip. And I never told that story to anybody. And the fact that they started to spell out Philip wigged me out. To this day, I think it was probably my grandfather, because how would these two girls I didn't even know, how would they know that? It's impossible.
It's spooky stuff inside.
Spooky.
Spooky
and not funny.
What about you, Joe?
What?
You got some funny credit card story or something, Joe?
Yeah.
This is
an in-joke.
Capital One overcharged me. And, no.
Yeah. But
show me on the statement where they overcharge you. Show me on the statement.
Greg, your mic is really loud.
It's really loud.
Yeah.
That looks like the mask from the Twilight Zone. Remember that episode where he made everyone wear a mask?
Oh yeah.
Then his was death.
So what else? You got nothing? You got no spooky stories?
You hang out with John Ferrantino. You got to have a spooky story.
Oh, I got a great spooky story.
Now Joe's really loud.
Well, that's because I'm boisterous. So
okay, we got to listen because when Joe speaks, we go viral.
I'm itching already. Go ahead, Joe.
So a friend of mine and I, we decorated my cousin's house for Halloween. And then John used to be at Chuckles every Wednesday night or something like that. And he was like in a hurry to leave.
Oh, yeah.
We had all these like horrible monsters. And the funny thing was, because my friend had a prop company and he used to rent props out. So my cousin asked me if we could decorate her basement for her son, his like 10-year-old birthday party. So we made it into like a haunted house. The kids were so afraid they wouldn't go downstairs. They stayed upstairs. So we're coming back from like breaking down all the stuff. And John's like, I got to go. So he says, all right. And he's like, oh, my car's backed in. I can't leave. So he's like running around. We run to the van. And we get one of these monsters. And we put it in the back of his van. And it's like this kind of thing. He jumps in the car and goes, I'll talk to you later. I really got to go. I say, okay. Well, what's that? And he looks behind and he goes, whoa!
It was horrible, man. It was horrible. It's like, you remember Chuckles, there was one of Don't Quit Your Day Job show. And I was parked in the alley and I turned around. There's a monster in my car, like, ah! And I banged into the door and he's laughing like an idiot.
I laughed so hard I fell on the floor.
It was really, it was really like,
it was really just like an open micer looking for a spot.
I mean, it wasn't even like, I didn't even know it even registered as a monster. I just thought it was some guy in my car, you know? All right, well, we're going to bring on Terry in a second. I just got to tell you one quick thing, and I think I told you guys this story privately. When I was in England, I went to see a psychic.
England.
And it was just basically the entire England family had all gone to this psychic, who's pretty famous, I guess, in England. And they were like, we just want to know, what you think, because she can't possibly know anything about you. And I got to the door, and this kind of attractive woman showed up. It wasn't like Gan. And she said to me, come on, let me take you to the back to the shed, which was actually like a 2-car garage. She
That's
said,
my opening line on a date. Let me take you back to the shed.
But so I went back there, and she was like, oh, my God, there's a lot of people that want to talk to you. I'm like, yeah, magician. Yeah. And I went back there, and let me tell you something. It was earth-shattering, the stuff that she told me that there's no way that she could have known. She knew the names of my kids. She knew I had a boy. She knew I had a girl. She knew about Bob Woods. It was
This was tarot card readings?
No, this was a woman that said, there's a guy standing behind you who's bigger than life, and he's laughing so hard that it's hard to even understand what he's saying, because he's like boisterous, and he wants you to know that he knows his death came as a shock to you, but now he's laughing so hard and says, it came more as a shock to me. And then there was another line, like a total woodsy line, where she said, I know you're getting ready to start a show in Florida, and we're having a lot of problems. She goes, let it go from here. And all of a sudden she goes, wait a second, he's yelling at me. He's saying, no, let it go from here. Let it happen from here. And she goes, now he's laughing. And he just looked at me and said, don't tell me how to do your job, lady. Which is so, and then at the end of the whole thing, she said, I taped the entire session for you. So I want you to take this cassette home with you, because maybe something happened that you don't realize that will make more sense to you later. And I said, what do I owe you? And she said, I don't take any money for this.
Wow.
She said, this is a gift, and I can't take money for it. Here's a list of charities. If you want to make a donation, you can. Wow. If not. So
we used to have that friend who used to do the tarot card readings and all that stuff. Patty. And let me tell you, she used to freak a lot of people out. She used to freak me out. It's like I'd still be resistant to, but whatever. I cannot explain how she got some of the information she got on some of the,
Yeah, quick story with Patty. I told you, guys, we were outside of Governor's Comedy Club, and she sat on the fender of my car, and she jumped up, and she went, whoa, whose car is this? And I go, it's mine. She goes, you got to get to a mechanic. Something's going on with that wheel. And I went to my cousin, who's this Italian mechanic, who's like, if I told him a psychic told me, I would have never heard the end of it. And he's going, well, what is making noises? I go, no noises. He goes, well, what are you in here? I go, something doesn't feel right. Oh, well, how does it feel? I go, I don't know. So he goes,
spooky.
He goes, you're out of your mind. And he puts it on the lift and he goes, you got to come see this. He goes, your whole wheel was a half a screw from falling off the whole chassis. He goes, I don't know how you ever noticed that. And I go, I go, a psychic told me.
Yeah,
and
what she didn't tell you is that before she told you that, she was under the car fucking loosening the screws.
But I got to my cousin. I go, yeah, psychic told me. And he's going, psychic told him. Like he thought I was giving him crap.
John,
all right, look.
I always knew John had a screw loose. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be here all week. All right, so we're going to bring on a great guest. He's a good friend of mine. He's a public speaker. His message you can find workplace safety, which we should take, leadership. And he works with a government agency for interactions after post-disaster relief. He's a mind reader, so he's got something in common with Joe. He's involved in the mystery arts. And he wrote for many, many prestigious magazines, Seance magazine, magazines that Joe probably has all collections of. And
some people collect Playboy.
And his latest endeavor is called The World is Haunted. Let's welcome a good friend, Terry Tyson.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Good, Terry.
Yeah, it's really nice to be here. I appreciate it. And by the way, Joe, that movie was based on a book called Wisconsin Death Trip. And John, you're absolutely right. With the advent of photography in the 1800s and the late 1800s, people would take photographs of their deceased family members and pose around them. And it was a way for them to remember that person. And it might have been the only photograph that they had of that individual. So, but if you get a chance to find a copy of the book, Wisconsin Death Trip, it is mind-blowing. And the film was made in 99. It's, if I remember correctly. So, Joe, I think it's the same. I think it's the same one. Yeah.
I've taken a lot of pictures of my girlfriend while I was sleeping with them because I thought they were dead. But
no, that was during sex, wasn't it?
That's what I said, during sex, because I thought they were dead.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch that, Mike. It's let it go.
Neither did they.
If the flash doesn't wake them up.
I thought you were going to say after you had sex and they were dead. All right, let's get off dead girlfriends, and let's talk to Terry.
So, what do you want to know, John? Let's see. What have I got going on? As you mentioned before, I do public speaking primarily at industry conferences and a keynote speaker and things of that nature. And this was the latest one that was in Las Vegas. And as you can see, I incorporate magic and mentalism into my talks to illustrate cogent message points. And it's a great way to get the audience to interact with me. They actually remember, it's like, you're the guy that, you're the old guy with the ponytail and you do magic and you tell us things. And I said, yeah. So they remember the magic, but God, I'd like them to also remember the message. But no, it's really a great way to interact with people.
Well, if you go back to that picture, Craig, can you do that?
Which one?
The one you just showed.
With the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Punch in the face. I mean, it sounds like a trick that Mike Grief would do.
Yeah.
Well, that's how you surprise a psychic. You go up and you punch him and go, you didn't see that coming? Come on.
Yeah. As you probably, if you're a magician, you recognize the hug kill effect. And
Tyson,
so
man.
I changed it to punch face fist bump. And so because hugging isn't allowed right now too much. But so I changed it up. And that message was basically, how can leaders in a company or even frontline workers become safety leaders? Because I have a extensive background in workplace safety, 37 years or so. In fact, what happened was when I was a much younger man and I graduated from college with an English degree, which is a great way to learn how to say, do you want fries with that? And so I decided to do my magic full time and my mentalism full time after that. And I starved. I absolutely starved. And my father was a general contractor. He was in construction, and I would work for him during the summers while going to school, and it pays really well. So my dad said, well, if this doesn't work out, go ahead and why don't you work for me for a while and see what happens. And one thing led to another, and I was put into a position where I was the safety director for a cement plant of all things. And then the plant manager said, if you will go to college and get your degree in industrial safety, et cetera, in hazardous material management and stuff, I'll put you on full time, because he was hiring me at that point just as a contract employee. And that was actually 39 years ago when you told me that. So after that, I started working for the company, and it expanded. I became the West Coast director for international building materials firm. So I had everything from Canada all the way down through Arizona, including Nevada as well. So it was a nice gig. It really was. And I gave up magic for a while. I really did, because I was so consumed with, making money for your family and taking care of them. That's where your responsibilities are. And about 15, 20 years ago, I started to reintroduce the magic into a safety talk, do a safety meeting, do a magic trick. Hey, that's great. And the guys would pay attention. So, and then I parlayed that into speaking at industry conferences and did the same thing, but I always tied in the effect to my message. And what really got me started was I attended a conference, and there was a magician who also was also a speaker. He was a speaker, also did magic. And he's got a great message. I really like this guy for his messages. And then he would stop halfway through the talk and do Professor's Nightmare or some kind of trick that had nothing to do with it. It's like, dude, and it drove me nuts. So a couple of my guys said, why don't you do that? And I said, no, I'm going to do it better. And John, I did. And it created sort of the second career when I do this public speaking now, once that I retired. But I started doing seances in the 80s. And it was through a relationship with Tony Andruzzi, who you guys may have heard of that guy. Yeah. And we became friends, as well as Scott Davis, the publisher of Seance Magazine, and was very heavily involved. And if people can find an issue or find a collection of them, they're right back here. You can see the book, Seance, in the background. That's the collected magazine into a single volume. And halfway through the middle, there's a Terry Tyson issue. And you'll see a very incredibly good-looking man. I don't know who he is.
You got my picture in your book? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know. It's something. But it's like, God,
I've only seen that book once. I saw that at Jeff McBride's house.
Oh, okay. Well, next time you go, open it up, and you'll see when I looked younger. But there's the Terry Tyson issue, but I had a regular column along with Eugene Berger and a few others.
What year was that?
That was in the 80s. I can look at the publishing date. I would say
mid to late 80s. Because right now, it's very funny because right now, this whole seance bizarre magic, I think, has a resurgence, right?
Yep.
It's like,
yep.
It's funny because when I started doing it like 7 years ago, it was like people were like, what are you doing? And like now all of a sudden, everybody's like, everything is bizarre magic and seances. And
well, if you notice too, in the last, I don't know, what is it, 15 or 20, whatever it is, everything, even with young people, it's zombies, it's supernatural. I think it's made a huge comeback in the last 20 years. When I was a kid, I remember, the original Frank, but now supernatural is just off the charts.
Yeah. And I've got my own opinion about bizarre magic now, that it's time to stop calling up demons. because if you look at the history of bizarre magic, which Andruzzi sort of started him, and Doc Shields and Charles Cameron, they did a lot of the occult type of angle, which is great and fun. But the bizarre magic that I do, it's a separate silo from the seances, is more along the storytelling aspects of it. And that has been creeping in more and more. So I'm writing right now a bizarre show that will be produced this fall. And it's going to be stories. There's a love story in it, sort of a haunted love story, but it's got a love story in it. And I will be talking about H.P. Lovecraft, but I will be addressing his rampant racism. And he was just a terrible guy. I mean, I think that the things that he wrote about, the horrors that he wrote about, and the monsters, he was looking in a mirror at times.
Wow.
So yeah, and it's going to be using PowerPoint. Yeah, exactly.
I think that like my draw to seance magic was, I mean, I did go one night to see Michael Carbonaro and Eugene Berger do their dark stories, and really good friends with Michael. And so I got to hang out with Eugene Berger for like hours afterwards, who could pick up this mouse and just talk about it with that voice and make it sound creepy. Right? I mean, he just looked like Gandalf. He looked like a wizard. And he had the most intense voice ever. And then I started thinking about it. And I went home and I started thinking about magic. Like years ago when a magician would come into town, people would go, "Oh, this guy's got magic powers," People actually believed that there was a magic force. And then, like now if you see, there's so much magic on everywhere, like on YouTube and a lot of bad magicians, a lot of good magicians. And there's so many people like, even if you see somebody do a great sleight of hand trick, right? You never go, "Wow, that guy has magic powers." You go, "Wow, that guy's really skilled." So my whole thing was, if you could take magic and kind of make it original magic and then throw in some element that we're not sure about, then it kind of brings you back to when magicians first traveled. It's also great to have a friend like Joe Silke, because I can come up with an idea and go, "I have no idea how to do it."
Well, what's going to be the biggest stuff is going to be the close-up stuff, the simple. I think the simpler the thing is, the more popular it's going to be, because now there's so much special effects, there's so much CGI that people are just blown. It's kind of like they know it's fake, but if you show them right in front of their face a simple card trick or some kind of, I think that is what would really intrigue a lot of people, because they're seeing it right there.
I agree that it intrigues, but I don't think people look at that and think it's magic. It's skill.
It's skill.
No, right.
But like when you do the rope through your body,
right?
I'm looking at it right there, and if people don't know this trick, John, it's just amazing. He pulls a rope right through his body, and I'm watching it, and I cannot figure it. To me, and I don't believe in magic, I can't explain it, and I go, "This is just I know."
Right. Well, that's what we're talking about. But I mean, most of the time when you see somebody do it, and I'm not knocking close-up performers, because those guys work harder than we work, probably, But I don't think people look at it and go, "Wow, that's magic." They don't know how it works.
It's not as grand. I know what you're saying.
No, I mean, they don't know how it works.
Well,
they
Chris
don't
Angel
know.
And David Blaine, it appears to be magic to me. I'm a layman.
Well, then maybe it's just me. I mean, I think you know what I'm talking about, though, right, Terry?
Yeah, I do, as a matter of fact. And I think, especially with the bizarre magic stuff, you can put in things that people will question, like, was that real? Was that real magic with a K? Or was that sleight of hand, Right. And the same thing with mentalism. We have different approaches to mentalism. And there's a lot of guys that use the psychological, neuro-linguistic programming or whatever their approach is. And then there's some that just don't explain anything at all or just do it. That's like myself. I have a mentalism show called Connections, and my style is less the superhuman brain guy, Mr. Mindo, but more of a let's create connections between ourselves. And so when somebody is thinking, let's say, of a lighthouse, and that's what their target is a lighthouse, and then extend that into describing everything around it, and say, let's close our eyes, let's make a connection here. And oh, do you hear that? I hear the ocean. Do you hear that? She goes, yes. And then you go into all these sensory things that add to the revelation of the target, which is the lighthouse. And a lot of magicians or mentalists will just say, you're thinking of a lighthouse, and draw a lighthouse. And I think that they're missing the opportunity to make that connection between people by going into the sensory memories, even emotional stuff. Because I'm not a funny guy. I'm not a comic on stage. You take advantage of, situational comedy that when it happens, but I don't have jokes, because I'm not a good comedian.
But I think part of it is the connection between you and the audience is genuine. I mean, you come across genuine, so they're more likely to believe. And I've seen guys, do mind reading shows where they say in the beginning, I just want you to know there's nothing supernatural, or, and then after the show, people come up to them and go, I know they made you say that. It's like,
well, see, when you're kind of a show, I think if you're taking somebody on a journey, I know when I'm sitting and watching, if you're interesting, it doesn't matter, funny, whatever. If you're interesting and you're presenting the stuff like that and you're taking me on a journey, I'm going to feel fulfilled and satisfied after the show. And I'm going to love it. You know what I mean? It's comedy isn't, if you're a comedian, yeah, obviously that's one of the important things. But to be intrigued and to be interested and to, take me on that journey where I can actually, some of the stuff you do, and I'll go, oh my God, how does that work? And,
Yeah. I like that. Go ahead. I'm sorry, John.
No, what I'm saying is, like, basically, I think the seance and the supernatural stuff works because people, they don't know if it's real. They don't know whether it's fake. They don't know whether it's, what's going on. Is it something's happening? So there's that element of doubt. And I think, like, for me, being a comedian, I think a lot of people come to my shows just because they can't imagine me being serious. And I've heard that from loads of people. And the thing is, by me coming out in the beginning and saying, hey, I don't believe in this stuff. Now I'm them. Yeah. I'm the same as them.
I think a lot of people come to the show wanting to believe. There's a small percentage that want to disprove everything, say what you're doing, Terry, when they're there. But I'm thinking that most people, they want to. They're interested. They want to see how it works. They want to believe in the supernatural and the psyche and all of that stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to say, at the end of my seance, when I talk about the Waverly Sanatorium, I go, we have to ask ourselves, do these people come back to tell us about the tortures they endured in the hospital or the experiments that were performed on them? Or did they come back to give us a meaning of hope, to let us know, although our physical body dies, our spirit lives on forever? So they kind of leave with like a message like, oh, this is it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. The seances that I started doing early were more of the what I call the theatrical seance, where a lot of things are moving, and there's how do I describe it? It's closer to a Hollywood seance in the early days that I did this.
Magic Castle seance.
Yes, the Magic Castle seance, but without the budget.
Right.
And without the hydraulic lift, I'm just saying.
So discount seance is just a bunch of people holding hands over a dead body, right?
Yeah, there you go. And man, I cleaned up. So, but so I started to visit and read the spiritualistic church writings, as well as to look how the mediums of old did this. And I incorporated their techniques and their approach to this, to my current seance. And I'm very, very pleased. I literally took all of the magic out. And
wow.
Yeah, every single bit. And we had a very successful sold out run in the month of October in South Orange County, California. And myself and a colleague and really good friend, Matt Bruce, assisted me in this. I started doing these solo, and I think the photograph that you showed earlier was the first time I did it for a live audience, and that was in Seattle, Washington. And I was set at that one right there, and it was very successful. I had amazing things happen, and I was very, very pleased. So from there, go ahead, John.
No, I'm saying, can you give us sort of like the people, we're talking a lot about seances, but a lot of listeners may not even know what a seance is. Can you just give us like a basic like outline of what they would expect, what happens?
Well, the word seance basically means, sitters. We're sitting together to make contact with spirits or a ghost. A ghost, by the way, there's a difference. A ghost is a spirit that is anchored to one spot, and so they haunt the house or the sanatorium. Where spirits can be everywhere. And that was sort of the approach that I took, is that let me preface also that I made it very, very clear that we were not going to contact dead relatives. And I did not want to exploit the grief of people that were there. I'll let the florist do that, and and the mortuary owners. But I said, we don't need to, because there are spirits in the room right now. We do not need to. And Matt came up with a great explanation, is that we're going to assume that your relatives are at peace. And to demand that they show up at our table is like walking into their home without knocking. And if they want to come, great. We're not going to call on them specifically. But we said, there are spirits everywhere. And if you're open to this kind of thing, you can feel this and you can experience that. And sort of did a survey of the room. How many people have had spirits come to them, or do you feel their presence? And at least half the audience said yes. But that's where the title came from. We don't have to call upon your dead relatives. There are spirits all around us because the world is haunted.
Right. And I guess that sounds like where you came up, where the people came up with it, free spirit. Now, I never knew the difference between a ghost and a spirit, but now I'm guessing free spirit came from because a ghost is locked in one place and a spirit can go all over the place. That's pretty cool.
That was the approach that we took, and we began with doing some exercises, for lack of a better term, using pendulums, handheld pendulums, some mentalism a little bit, and there's the bottle pendulums, which I will demonstrate later. But we use bottle pendulums, and what's important about these is that you realize, after we've done these experiments with several pendulums in the room, and we found people that were really good at mentally willing these things to move, those were the people who were going to sit at the tables and concentrate on the bottle pendulums. And, and it made sense. I didn't have to say it specifically, but the pendulum weights move without people touching them. And explanations I provided is that the spirits can interact. They may be drawn to these things, and they will also move because as they pass through or whatever. And the effect is quite remarkable when people see it.
And I think it's amazing about the bottle pendulum thing that you're going to demonstrate is when anybody who have ever seen do a seance or contact spirits, it's always one off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's cool about the bottle pendulums is there's probably more than one out there at the same time that want to come through.
Yeah. And that's interesting too that you mentioned that, because we had multiple tables. When I did this in Dallas, we had 3 tables with about 6 people at each table, and then people standing and sitting around the room. And we had pendulums moving on every single table. And without giving away anything, I didn't have to do jack to make it work. Right. I talked to them. The spirits came, made them move or whatever.
Well, quick question. Are they in a bottle just because so that you can prove that it's not my breath or something?
Yes.
Why are they in a bottle?
Yeah, it's to prove or to demonstrate that they can move without you touching them.
Can you do the demonstration?
Are you ready for it?
Yeah, let's do it, and then because I think it'll make more sense to people watching that's not familiar.
Okay.
So I've never heard of it though.
If you're comfortable doing it now, or
let me get into. Yeah, I'm good. So I'm going to shut my camera down. We're going to move it over to the other tripod where I've got the pendulum set up. Okay?
All right, cool.
Let's just don't contact any of my dead relatives. I owe them all money.
They don't use money in the afterlife, do they?
Well, they still want to collect it from me, even though they can't use it. They use charge cards.
Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that looks great.
Oh, that is good. Look at that.
During the seance, I need to light the candles. There's a joke where, I'll get a match and try to light it, and then push it. That's the only joke that I ever did during a seance.
I really dig your office too.
Oh, thanks. It's it's my studio because I make art and do handcrafts, such as I do hand bookbinding, some jewelry making, printmaking, and that kind of stuff. Cool. And yeah, it's kind of fun. And so
so Terry, set the scene of what this would look like.
Yeah.
When you were doing it, you know what I mean? Like the room is darkened.
Yeah, the room is darkened. There's candles that light the room, and generally the bottle pendulums are not assembled, so that when everybody gets seated, because we move from the first part of the seance where we're doing all these experiments to get everybody of the same spirit and connections and the same mindset, etc. Then we enter the seance chamber, which is generally between 3 to 4 tables and anywhere from 6 to 8 people around each. And I'm sitting at a table, and for the seances we did in Orange County, Matt was sitting at another one, and he would occasionally get up and make sure everything is working pretty well. But the sitters actually assemble the pendulum, and they would take this bottle. It was a pretty good gin, by the way. I want to let you know, for this seance, I donated my liver to my art. So, and we placed the pendulum inside. And again, this is after we demonstrated how they work, where they're being held. And we take a moment to take all of the energy or stored energy from prior use, and we slowly tilt it up like that. And that's to prevent them moving a lot, because when you sit down, you jostle things and they're moving. And then we go through sort of an induction phase in which we get one breath. In like the seances of old, we have sort of an invocation, as it were. And I invite people to place their hands on the table and to concentrate and imagine that there's a dark door opening behind them. But it's not a scary door. It's not frightening. It's a door full of stars. And the spirits will be invited to come to our table through these dark doorways. And they look and they concentrate. And I just tell people to just imagine that the spirits are in the room, and we invite them to interact. Sometimes we have to sort of coax them into doing it, or they're just going to be drawn to the various weights that are here in front of us. And we begin to look at these weights. And as you can see, I don't know if you can zoom in or not, because I've already started this whole process, and I'm not touching the table. That's the other thing that's important to realize at this point. Normally people do have their hands on the table, and I'm getting movement here, a back and forth swinging motion. All the pendulums are moving now, and there are at least 4 bottle pendulums at each table. And I hope you can see what's going on with the pendulums, but they're moving, some at different rates. This one's moving quite a bit. So is this one. This one's not moving so much. This one's sort of going, and they're all different kinds of things. This bottle actually has the pendulum weight is a small vial of graveyard dirt from the Fox sisters. A friend of mine sent it to me.
The one on the end is moving a lot.
Yeah. And this one's going in a circle. This one is really swinging. Very, very nice.
Wow.
It's swinging. That must be Elvis.
Is that the vial of dirt one or the vial of cocaine one?
Oh, wrong bottle. Sorry. And at times, if the spirits are willing, they will actually make the pendulums hit the side of the bottle. And I think this one's about to do that.
Wow.
And then we banish or we ask the spirits to leave, and we thank them for being here. And when we do that, the pendulums will become still. It takes a while sometimes, but they will come to rest. So that's one of the major things that happens during this seance. We also have a portion of the program where people are looking at they're looking at a black stone, and they're concentrating on the black stone under the candlelight, and they will see things in the black stone. I've got reported, and I think there's a video of someone who experienced the black stone actually vanishing in front of her eyes. And wow. That was quite remarkable. And when I get back to my desk there, we'll go ahead and maybe, Craig, we can play that video. But anyway,
let me know
you can see that they're coming, they're slowing down. This one's still going, and I'm going to say, goodbye, spirits. Thank you for being here. See you next time. So
now I've seen this when all the bottles were like ringing at different times.
So is this a typical seance? I mean, I think most people, I know I had the idea of people holding hands and contacting, like you said before, dead relatives.
Right. That is not the typical seance. And that's what I wanted to share with others, that this is a very unique experience. And people, and I've had skeptics come in, and, I'm not sure if that was real or not, but I got to tell you that felt a connection, and it was very strange what I saw. It was very peaceful, and it was eerie but not scary. There were no jump scares, purposeful jump scares in my seance.
Do you ever get like a dark spirit, like a scary kind of a spirit that, I mean, most of them seem to be benevolent, but
we go through a process to make sure that they're not going to come around, and if they do, we have a process to get rid of them right away. Because part of the reasoning or the narrative behind having only positive forces and positive spirits in the room is that we have positive outlook. And, and we're of one mind that is, very, very connected, and again, positive thoughts and things of that nature. And if bad spirits come in, they're going to they're going to find it alien territory. They're not going to like it because all this kumbaya is going on. They're not going to stick around. They're going to leave. So, well, I'm going to go back to my desk. You can see how the pendulums are moving. They're slowing down, and hopefully they will stop soon. But I'll be right to my desk in just a minute.
Cool. Thank you for that demonstration.
Cool.
I saw this in an actual seance situation where one started ringing and another one started ringing. It was bizarre. He wasn't even at the table. It was just like how is this happening?
Right. Well, here's a question. I mean, do you think that everyone becomes a spirit? Like when you die, I'm guessing spirits are the remains of people when they were living. So does everyone become a spirit?
We use the word spirit to perhaps mean different things to different people. Some would say a soul, or depending on your faith and religious outlook, they might give it a different label. I use the word spirit because it connotes interesting stuff to me.
Right.
And it goes along with what we're doing at a seance. So, but it's a great thing for people to witness and experience. And so why don't we play, Craig? Why don't we play that video of the lady that came? And I talked to several, and Craig picked this one, and we'll see what she has to say.
Okay, here we go.
Edit. Yep.
Please do. Can you make me thinner, Mr. DeMille?
I mean, from a close-up. So you've just experienced The World is Haunted with Terry Tyson and Matt Bruce. Tell me about it.
I think it was everything that I was hoping it would be and more. It was subtle, yet very effective. I think the fact that the things that they did were very sincere. There wasn't a lot of Hollywood sparkle. It really brought the members of the audience, I guess we weren't really an audience, we were a group, in together to share the experience overall. I mean, the way they started out, having us all kind of gather and do a pendulum exercise to kind of just bring us all together in the mood of the kind of the event, and then bring us into the room to sit down at tables and really get into the seance. It created a really respectful atmosphere. I think everyone was very involved and into the theory of the show and the experience itself. I was lucky enough to be the person that got to interact with the stones and the candles, and not gonna lie, I actually did experience having those stones kind of fade away into the table, which shocked me a little bit, because I don't want to say I'm a skeptical person, but I'm not one of those I believe everything kind of people. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the people around me and just watching their reactions as well. I'm glad I came.
Nice.
Cool.
Great.
Yes.
Now, when she says the stones fade away, I mean, we obviously you didn't demonstrate that, but what is she talking about exactly?
We have these, what we call them, scrying stones. You may have heard of scrying mirrors. Basically, it's a black surface that people focus on, and visually they would see strange things happen to the stone or on the surface of the black mirror or whatever. And it's pretty mind bending when it starts working, and some of them were kind of freaking out. We did have a couple of things that happened towards the end of the run, and that included something I didn't plan, because I try to stay in control of everything that's happening there. And but there was more than one person, including myself, a dark figure in the corner of the room. And this is it's a big, large room. So anyway, but the figure walked towards the tables, made a left-hand turn, and was gone. The tables, there were at least 2 or maybe 3 tables that people reported that were actually moving and rising up. and it just makes me happy that people experience this strange thing. And folks came up to me later and said, was that real or was that totally fake? And my standard answer is, no matter what I told you, no matter what I tell you, it won't change your mind. Did you have a good time? Was it interesting? Yeah. And that gets rid of any kind of skeptics. Yeah. Okay. They've got their mind made up. We've got true believers. They've got their mind made up, and people in between, at least they had a good time and they experienced something that, is very, very rare these days.
Have you ever dabbled in the tarot cards?
Not as much as my buddy Matt. Matt is a reader at a couple of shops in Los Angeles, and
he's Psychic Eye. Is he over at the Psychic Eye?
He's at the Mystic Museum across down the street, as well as another joint. I don't remember the name of it, but he's very, very good as a reader. And
many years ago, I had a reading at the Psychic Eye. Just those kind of blows you away. I mean, you can be as skeptical all you want, but it's how do you figure out how these people are pulling pieces of your life out, and you've never met them before. So,
and Mike, I've always said that when it comes to anything, whether it's a magic show or a seance, you get out of it what you put into it. So, and that's so important. If people came and they said, some pendulums moved, right, the rocks moved, it was dark, and we did have messages that were, people had questions. They wrote down a question and they kept it, or we placed it actually in a glass jar so no one could touch it. And the spirits, as it were, through myself or through Matt, and especially myself, would respond and provide an answer to it. But we made sure that we did not talk to any family members.
It's funny that some people do come. They come to have a bad time. They pay to have a bad, because they come with that intention. Some people are the glass half full, and some people are the need to get hit in the head with a bat.
Right. Terry, we're really running a little long right here right now, but can you tell somebody at home they can make their own pendulum? Because a lot of people may not be familiar with a pendulum. Can you just give them like a demonstration, not a demonstration, but like a little tutorial of what they can do so they can experience?
Sure. Go to Michael's, the occult section of Michael's. No, just Michael's.
Which is the whole main store.
Yeah, it's not going to be Hobby Lobby, So, and just get a pendant, like a crystal pendant of some sort. Get some jewelry chain. And if you want to put a small bead at the end, what I call the finial, and just connect it with jump rings, and go online and read a little bit about pendulums. But basically what you're doing is using it to find answers, to find stuff there. I think it taps into our subconscious. There is a physiological reason why they work, but I also think it's very mysterious.
It is very mysterious because you can hold the pendulum by the bead, right, Mike? Yep. And you guys should try this at home.
Would it work with a fishing weight?
Yeah, fishing weight.
Yeah, that would work. Yeah.
But you can actually hold it and look at it and concentrate on it and say, I want this to go around in a circle. Without moving your fingers, it will start going around in a circle.
Yeah.
And then you can say, I want you to stop and go left and right. And it will stop and go left and right. And you're not moving your hand. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it is due to what they call ideomotor function in your muscles, but it's coming from your subconscious as well. You're tapping into places that you hadn't thought about. So I think it's a great demonstration of how your mind works.
I think if you make these at home and just try it, this whole thing will make a lot more sense.
It's a weird comparison, but they say it's the same. Like when you're learning how to ride a motorcycle. If the way you turn your head is the way the motorcycle is going to go, and you go, how can that be? But it's true. If you turn your head this way, you're going to turn so the energy, like you were saying, from the brain to the hand, even though you're not doing it consciously, it's.
So we're as soon as it's free and easy to get people together, post COVID, we're going to be bringing this to Los Angeles at a venue called Provoke Studios. And the venue owner is very excited to host us. And then after that, we're going to be looking at another location in Los Angeles, and then take it up to Pismo Beach area, and then back to Seattle. But again, we have to wait until it's safe to do so. I don't want to get a bunch of people in a room to do this.
Well, let me and Craig know when you're going to be in Los Angeles. Yeah. We will check it out because we're in Los Angeles.
Okay, it's a deal. And Craig, that one picture that had the lady mural on it. Yeah, that was a photograph that I took on the inside. That mural to the left of the picture is sort of the icon of the place, and her picture is also on the outside of the place. And it's a very large room. We can get it super dark. And the only thing that was strange about this photograph was my lens was clean when I took that picture. Wow. And yeah, and I'm not going to say that it was spirits or what, it's photography and whatnot, but it just was interesting to me that showed up.
Orbs.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, Terry, it was really great talking to you. We could talk to you all afternoon, but we do have time restraints on the show, and you come back some other time. And you guys got any more questions? Or?
No, I just want to say thank you, man. You're a very interesting guy, man. I'm very, I really, I said normally I'd be making a lot of jokes and stuff like that, but I was actually captivated by what you were talking about. So
yeah, my cat levitated during this show. Is he ever going to come down?
Well, you don't keep your cat on your lap during the show.
And Terry, we can also run like a banner underneath with your website or whatever. We can put that.
And I have my major website, and then I have my secret page and you can share that too. Cool.
All right. Well, let's thank Terry for coming in. Terry, it's been a blast.
Thank you, Terry.
Great. And hey, hope to see you again. I'll see you down the road.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Thanks again. Well, hey guys, that's it. I mean, that's pretty interesting stuff, I think. Pretty wild.
Great.
Yeah, I learned a lot, man. I'll tell you what, I would definitely go to the show. I want to see. I want to go to your seance, John, but you're in Florida, so that's a harder thing. But when Terry's doing his show, I'm definitely going to check when it's COVID safe. I'm going to definitely check it out.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, hey guys, that's our show for today, and you can catch us at the Big Bad Broadcast Facebook page, or you can catch us at www.thebbbradio.com. And we got a great show coming up for you next week also, because we always do. Baby. So anyway, thank the doll, thank Mike, thank Joe, thank Craig, thank myself, and hey, thank the skull. But we're gonna get going, and hey, let's talk about the clown. We never got to them.
No, we never did. What do you think of these guns, huh? Look at these guns. Oh yeah, nice and flappy.
I wouldn't show those if I were you, Craig. Anyway,
it's too late. All right, guys. See you next week.
All right.
Take care. Bye.
All right. Take care.
Please remember to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Thank you.